Can Hot D be unburdened by what has been? So when House of the Dragon first came out, I think a lot of people saw it as a second chance for the franchise, by creating a new story in Westeros while also washing out the horrible taste left over from the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. It was something that the fan base needed, and it felt sincere. Like the showrunners knew that they had to walk themselves back from their predecessor. It had all the political intrigue, incest, dragons, sword fighting, weird sex, and more incest. All the things that made the franchise so popular to begin with. However, as much as they tried, I could never shake the feeling of that big skeleton in the closet. It felt hard not to peer over the shoulder of this show and see what it was all leading to. The writers were smart enough to avoid too much discussion of things like the White Walkers in Season 1. However, Season 2 it seems like they've tried to lean more into it. Prophetic dreams of the Long Night, as well as references to Daenerys, have become more of an overarching piece of the narrative. Characters' motivations like Daemon and Rhaenyra have been guided by coming events. But all this does is bring the audience's attention back to that horrible memory. And while some may be able to look past this problem, I can't help but feel like there's a subconscious scar on the franchise. That no matter what they do, no matter how good the show gets, that it would never be able to heal this wound. And I mean, how could they? If all of the events of the show ultimately lead to the story of Game of Thrones, then their actions feel empty and their motivations are made pointless because we all know how this is going to go. We know that the Long Night is literally 1 night long, and that the White Walkers are nothing more than a mild inconvenience. So having all of this menacing foreshadowing in House of the Dragon feels empty. It's kind of like watching the original trilogy of Star Wars and hearing Obi-Wan talk about the Clone Wars and Anakin. But now, all you can think of is...
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too.
Now, apparently George R. R. Martin has claimed that House of the Dragon is supposed to be more of a prequel to the books than it is to Game of Thrones. However, if you use the same sets and locations as the TV show, it doesn't really matter what you say because the scenery resonates with the Game of Thrones audience. Nobody is watching this and thinking that it's a prequel to the books. And now it seems that George himself may be regretting making that claim, as he's been crying all over Twitter on how the show is ruining his lore. And you know, George is the one I blame for this colossal disaster of an IP. If Martin had spent more time finishing his legacy instead of wasting his time on shitty TV shows, then maybe all of these issues could have been averted. It's been 13 years since A Dance of Dragons came out. Martin is 75 years old, and he's not getting any younger. So if House of the Dragon is tied to A Song of Ice and Fire, then all of this foreshadowing is going to lead to jack shit, because I don't think Martin's ever going to finish the series. He's got a handful of TV shows that he's personally involved in, and now he's helping with games like Elden Ring. But what's sad is that this is not what he'll be remembered for. A Song of Ice and Fire is his legacy. An incomplete one.
You know, it's the same update I've been giving for a long time. I continue to work on it. It continues to get longer and longer.
Bullshit!
Other shit that made me roll my eyes. So here's a quick list of little things that bothered me. Number 1, why does Alice say this?
It's perhaps why your brother gave the crown to her. Perhaps those who strive for it are the least suited to wear it.
The writers were trying to make her sound wise by playing on the reluctant hero trope, but it's pretty retarded when you think about it. Aegon didn't want the throne, and he's an awful leader. Actually, not wanting the responsibility is probably, if anything, a sign of a bad leader, since someone who doesn't want this responsibility won't be ready to make major decisions. Number 2. How was it this easy for Rhaena to run off into the wilderness? So after she leaves the Bloody Gate, she waits for like 3 seconds. Nobody notices that she's lagging behind, and then she bolts off into the field. These 2 guys ahead of her aren't even alerted. How the fuck can a whole royal escort not have their eyes on one of the 3 children they're supposed to protect?
I'll send 6 good men to protect you on the crossing.
Were there no guards on the wall manning the gate watching the escort leave? Nobody looking down on the only fucking road they're supposed to be watching? Not one guy was like, hey, the fucking girl you're supposed to be protecting is running away. I mean, like, how long did it take for these guys to notice that she was gone? Rhaena's in a field, all they had to do was look in her direction.
Are we blind? Deploy the garrison! No!
I mean, even if you forgive all that, then what did the escort do when they realized that Rhaena was gone? Did they just say, fuck it, let's keep going? Or did they turn back to the bloody gate and tell the retarded guards what happened? I mean, the Vale would have some kind of hunters or trackers, right? Some horses? They could head out and find her pretty quickly. Yet the show gives us no indication that anyone knew that Rhaena was gone, let alone thought to send anyone to find her.
You had one job.
Just the one.
Number 3. Why the fuck did Rhaenys fly back to fight Aemond after she defeated Aegon? I mean, from her perspective, she's killed one of the few dragons the Greens have, and the king is likely dead as well. If she had just flown back to Dragonstone, it would have been a major victory for the Blacks. However, for no fucking reason at all, Rhaenys decides to fly back and take on the biggest dragon in the world and gets killed. The chances of her winning were slim to begin with, and her dying deprives Rhaenyra of a valuable dragon as well as a good counselor. I have a suspicion that the real reason that the creators decided to write it this way was because they still needed Rhaenys to die like she does in the books, but they didn't want a strong female warrior to be bested or outsmarted by an evil man. So they had her ride into glory one last time, going out on her own terms. They even make it so the only way Aemond actually wins is by being a sneaky little bitch and having him snag her out of nowhere. In any case, Rhaenys is pretty stupid for this decision, and it overall lessened her character because of it. Number 4. The time and distance jumping is still an issue for this show. Kristen Cole was moving all around from place to place this season, while it took other characters ages to get anywhere. How long has that Lannister army been marching again?
So
You with me?
I was, yeah. We were at.
You actively napping?
I drifted.
Number 5. Why did Rhaenyra introduce all of the bastards to the dragon all at once? She didn't think to do it one at a time just in case this happened? It's only by pure luck that anyone survived, let alone getting 2 dragon riders out of the situation. It would have been easy to bring everyone in one by one over the course of a couple days. This all could have easily blown up in her face, and it's fucking retarded that she got anything out of the situation. Number 6. On the note of the dragon riders, why the hell did Rhaenyra try to let the Lord Commander of her Queensguard try to ride Seasmoke, an already claimed dragon? Rhaenyra is the only one who knows that her ex-husband is still alive, so why the hell did she not offer him a different dragon? I mean, it probably wouldn't have worked out anyway, but it would have been a lot smarter trying to pair this guy with a dragon you know doesn't have a rider. Attractive English women. You know, out of all the fantasy elements in this show, from the dragons to the locations, the magic and so on, the most unrealistic thing about this whole show is the attractive British women. Now, I've spent a lot of time in the UK, and never have I seen pretty women.
With Faith and ask her about what her beliefs are, because maybe I'm believing. Well, maybe you are.
Anyway, so I guess I was feeling a little misled. Like, where are you hiding them, England? The Hollywood shills are making pretty British women out of CGI. Where did they all go? It's a lie! It's a big scam! It's a big scam! One last slap in the face. Alright, let's get this over with. This is by far the most insulting piece of writing that has been shot out onto the screen by this series since the ending of Game of Thrones.
You are my queen. Now. And always.
A little mad because I don't understand it. And I get a little irritated because I don't know what you're talking about.
It fails on any logical level, as well as completely fucking any character development by Alicent or Rhaenyra. Alicent secretly comes to meet Rhaenyra on Dragonstone to offer her a quick and easy way to take King's Landing. Alicent claims that Aemond is heading off to war, and so the city will be defenseless. Alicent will then order the city to surrender to Rhaenyra, and she can take the throne without any unnecessary bloodshed. Rhaenyra, however, demands that Alicent also has to give over Aegon to be executed, so that there will be no competition to her throne, to which Alicent agrees.
What? What's that? Say that again?
What? What the hell are you talking about? What?
Okay, so what the fuck is this? Both Rhaenyra and Alicent act way out of character in this scene, and pretty much shit all over their motivations this season. Alicent offering to surrender King's Landing to Rhaenyra so she can escape Westeros with her daughter makes no fucking sense. If all Alicent wants to do is flee, then she could have done that without meeting with Rhaenyra at all. She could have just grabbed whatever she wanted and left the country without anyone knowing. I mean, Alicent left King's Landing for a whole episode to go on a camping trip. She could have easily slipped away unnoticed. It's not like anyone seems to give a shit about her anyway.
And its arrogance, neither of which is to be desired in a king.
you of your seat, such as it was. Sure you'll be much pleased to return to more domestic pursuits.
The security around King's Landing seems to be fucking horrible as well. Characters sneak in and out of the city all season. So it's not hard to believe that she could take her daughter with her as well. Alicent herself has just gotten past a fucking blockade to come meet Rhaenyra. She could have just sailed past Dragonstone and kept going. Why did she make this super risky move of going to visit the home of her sworn enemy?
What? What are you talking about? What? What?
Oh my god, your daughter has a fucking dragon, just fly away on that, you moron. First of all, this deal is completely meaningless to the audience, since at this point we pretty much know that Aegon is leaving King's Landing with the crippled guy. The weight of this scene is lessened by this knowledge, and it only serves to completely ruin Alicent's character. It doesn't take much to point out that even though Alicent wasn't the perfect mother to her children, she doesn't want them to fucking die. She jumped in front of a dragon to protect her son only a season prior. You're telling me that she would be willing to put his head on a chopping block just so she could get a little bit more vacation time? As well, why does Rhaenyra only want Aegon to be killed? It's not like Aemond is going to be giving up after Aegon dies. Then there's the rest of Alicent's children who also pose a threat to Rhaenyra's claim on the throne. Rhaenyra realistically would have to kill all of Alicent's children so that there would be no competition for her successors. All of the Blackfyre rebellions were based around this problem, and those conflicts lasted generations. So only killing Aegon would not be enough, and the fact that neither character understands this is dumb. Well, that's about it. I think I covered all my bases with this show. I don't have much else to complain about. I guess to be fair, I should talk about the things I actually liked about this season, but don't worry, this will be a short list. I liked this scene with Daemon after he tried to deal with the Brackens.
I did not think they would be so eager to die.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I think Aegon's character was well written. He was funny, sympathetic, villainous, and stupid all at the same time. They did a good job making him feel like a real and layered person. He might have been the only character that left this season totally unscathed. The dragon fight was well shot. I like the camera angles, like how we see Rhaenys do this flip move. While being cool, it's also showing us how she is a more experienced rider. Even though the setup was stupid, I thought the dragon pit scene was well done. The tracking shot made it intense, and they did a good job showing the audience the destructive nature of the dragons. Simon Strong was an enjoyable character to watch. I like how he's just more or less a normal guy who just wants to chill out and eat some good food. It's rare to find a character in the series who's actually not politically motivated. So yeah, that's what I liked. But overall, this season has just felt dull. It really felt like they were just stringing the audience along until the next season. Now I guess there has been some budget cuts at HBO, and the season was supposed to be 10 episodes but got cut down to 8. So this is an excuse I've heard a lot by people who defend the House of the Dragon. However, I felt like from the start that this was too many seasons for a story that isn't that long. The fact that they're cutting some of the characters out of the story while still making it 4 seasons long is weird to me. It all smells of corporate greed, an intention to drag along the fan base and squeeze every dime they can out of them. And you know, I'm getting the feeling that this has become some kind of abusive relationship. Like, I get tempted into the sexy dialogue and the good looks, but when I get comfortable and we finally move in together, the series starts punching me in the face for burning the casserole. But maybe we should learn a lesson this time. Maybe if we just stop paying attention to it, then George will get the message and stop wasting his time on all of these side projects and finish the damn book series. But that's not going to happen, is it? George is going to die, and all we'll be left with is shallow and empty cash grab TV shows that will disgrace the very name of A Song of Ice and Fire. And each and every episode of every installment will slowly drag itself closer and closer into obscurity, leaving the fan base in this limbo state to wonder what could have been. That's your legacy, George. You don't need to wonder about it anymore. You'll be the author who never was.